Welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make some crunchy oat biscuits with a chocolate topping. A very simple recipe. You make the biscuits, melt some chocolate, put the chocolate on top, allow it to set, and basically that's it. So I start off by preheating my oven to 180 degrees Celsius, that's 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and I've lined a couple of baking trays with parchment paper. So I'll go on to the ingredients, and for this I have 100 grams, which is 2/3 of a cup, based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of plain flour. I have 100 grams, which is 1 1/3 cups of rolled oats. Not the old-fashioned ones, they're slightly too large, but if you have the old-fashioned ones you could blitz them in a processor to break them up a little bit. I have 80 grams, 6 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon of light brown sugar, 125 grams, 1 stick plus 1 tablespoon of softened unsalted butter, 2 grams, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 grams, half a teaspoon of baking powder, 3 grams, half a teaspoon of salt, 20 grams, 2 tablespoons of golden syrup. If you don't have golden syrup, you could use corn syrup or maple syrup or even honey, I think. And then I have 100 grams, 3½ ounces, about half a cup of milk chocolate, but you can use whatever chocolate you want basically, and the amount you use depends on the thickness of chocolate that you want on the top. So the recipe is very easy. The first thing we need to do is to cream the butter and the sugar together. And I'm going to do this with my hand mixer, but you could do it by hand if you wanted to, or you could even do it in a stand mixer. So that's creamed together quite nicely. So then I'm going to put my golden syrup in and mix it again. And that's good enough like that. And I'm going to put my salt and baking soda and baking powder into the flour. And I'm just going to give that a gentle stir around to get it a little bit combined. And then I'm going to tip that into the oats. and I'm just going to mix it around basically. I'm going to put that into the bowl, and I'm just going to mix that on a low speed until it all comes together. And that's good like that. So I just scrape the bowl a little bit like that, and we're ready to divide that, and I want to divide it into about 20 pieces. And to divide it into 20 equal pieces is about just over 22 grams, which is that much basically. So I'm going to roll it into a ball and put it on a baking tray, leaving a good gap between each one. So I've rolled out the 20 balls. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to press each one down to flatten it, and it will spread as it bakes, or they will spread as they bake, should I say. So they're the oat biscuits prepared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those into the oven, and I'm going to bake them for between 15 and 18 minutes. I want them to be crunchy. You can adjust the baking time. If you want them to be more chewy, you can bake for a slightly shorter time. If you want them to be even crunchier, you can bake them for a longer time. But I'll bake mine for between 15 and 18 minutes, take them out and allow them to cool down, and then once they've cooled down, I'll come back and we'll go on to the next step. I baked my oat biscuits for 18 minutes. They rose a little bit as they were baking, and what I did, I simply took my little cookie spatula, and as I took them out of the oven, I tapped the spatula on the top of each one so that they flattened. I allowed them to cool for a couple of minutes on the baking trays, then I transferred them to a wire rack. So this is what they look like now. They baked very well. Now, the eagle eye amongst you will notice that I only have 19 and I started with 20, and that's because I've already eaten one. And they have a lovely crunch on the outside and slightly chewy in the centre, a sort of soft crumb. So very, very good indeed, just like that. And you can stop at that stage and you will have a really nice biscuit. But if you want to go on to do the chocolate, what we have is 100 grams of chocolate, and I'm using milk chocolate here, which I'm then going to melt, and you can do that either in a bain-marie or a double boiler, or you can do it in a microwave, just heat in the microwave for 15 to 25 seconds, stir it, reheat it, stir it, and keep doing that in little short bursts until the chocolate is fully melted. And at that stage we'll be ready to coat. So I will melt my chocolate and then I'll come back and we'll coat the biscuits with the chocolate. My chocolate is melted, and all I'm going to do is take some with a teaspoon, and I've turned the biscuits upside down, and I'm simply going to put some chocolate onto each one and spread it around. Just like that. And then I'm simply going to take the edge of my spatula and just do that. It will make a little pattern, just a rough pattern. Then I'll put that onto the wire rack again, and I'll leave it to cool until the chocolate has set. And I'll do the same with the remainder. I've coated the oat biscuits in chocolate, and as you can see I actually used two types of chocolate, the milk chocolate which I showed you, and that 100 grams of chocolate will be enough to coat all 20 biscuits. But I have some caramel chocolate which I love, so I thought I would do some of those for myself. So they're still setting, the chocolate on the top is still setting up, but I did put one in the fridge so that it would set that little bit quicker. So this is what that one looks like, and I'll have a taste of this. A lovely oaty texture. It's crunchy but soft enough with just a little bit of chew. Sweet from the golden syrup and the brown sugar, and then the flavour of the chocolate on the top. Very, very good indeed. As I say, you could do these without the chocolate and they would be perfect, but with the chocolate, perfect too. So that's going to be it for this recipe, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do subscribe, also click the bell icon, because that will then send you notifications when I put new videos online. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.